Hello. Hello, hello, hello. And yeah, welcome to the first episode of the stream. Yeah, so right now I'm Tim Niederriter. I'm your host, and I'm a little distracted by the streaming software, but it's okay because I'm your host, I'm your player, I'm the only one here, and frankly, I'm not sure how many people are going to be listening to this live because it is the very first one. So, but welcome to everyone who is watching, listening, whatever. Basically, this is a solo play game, an RPG session with just me. And just as a brief introduction, I'm an author, fantasy, science fiction, combinations of the two. And this game is going to be a combination of the two, using the FateCore system, as you can see on the screen here. And yeah, I I really do think this is going to be a great game to try out for the first time because I've run this game many times now. I have had a few campaigns in FateCore, excuse me, and I've not streamed any of them. They've all been private online, during the pandemic mostly. And I am thrilled with this system. I love this system. I know a lot of people don't know about it, but it is a fantastic kind of open, more story-based system than a lot of games. And I'm going to be starting by creating the characters, creating the setting. This is all going to happen live on stream today. And we'll see if I can get around to actually playing a scene. I have a feeling I won't, but if I do, I'll be busting out the old Mythic GM emulator as made, well, more better known perhaps by people like Trevor Duvall over at uh, Me, Myself, and Die, which is kind of a similar idea to what this channel is doing here, except of course he's a professional voice actor. He's a great speaker and much better presenting the visuals as well. But that's fine. This is a game that is not about visuals. At least it never has been for me. I mean, RPGs, which I've been into for my entire life, more or less, they have always been, uh, you know, the they've always been the source or been based around words for me, which maybe makes sense. So yeah, uh, so anyway, I'm getting some problems from this software. I know my internet isn't strong, but it's very frustrating that I can't even stream a static image at 720p. That's really silly. But that's why you're not going to be seeing much of me, just my hands, hi, and not a whole lot else. So, and you'll see me roll the dice, like now. So there's the dice. Not a great roll. That's one thing to keep in mind. FateCore uses fudge dice, which is to say they're six-sided dice. They only come up uh, when basically there it's more like it's a 1 and a 2 counts as a -1, 3 and a 4 are +0, and a 5 or a 6 is +1, and you add the total together. So each die adds -1, 0, or +1 to the total. And then you add your skill result and compare it to the table of the ladder, so to speak, of how good you did. Higher is better. Pretty simple game. That's really the mechanic to the game, as well as the fate points, the fate die. But we will get into that later. There's no need for me to explain and review this game. It's a pretty great system. I think it's still free online. You can get the PDF for free, at least for certain versions of this game. I'd encourage RPG players of all kinds to get into it. It's a fantastic system. And doesn't actually involve a whole lot of math. Decidedly less than something like Dungeons and Dragons, and less finicky modifiers and numbers thrown around than almost any D20 based RPG, and many of the D100 based ones. So that's that. And yeah, so I have an idea for a setting, so let's get started with that. I'm gonna be following the walkthrough in this book that you can see the cover of on screen. I'm gonna be walking through the game creation, maybe a little bit out of order because I don't normally do this part when I run a Fate game, but because it's just me, I think it's gonna be helpful. So we're gonna start out with setting up the game, setting up the game session, the game section of the book. Nice little tvtropes.org reference in this part, which is that's a fun site that the internet used to see a lot more of. Or I used to see a lot more of it. I wonder if it's still going. But this book is a few years old now, so anyway. So we're talking about the game's scale. Okay, so first off is the game's scale, and I think it's going to be pretty epic, actually. Epic meaning large in this context. So pretty high scale game. Lots of big stuff happening. We're talking science fiction with a little bit of fantasy tossed in there. And I'm leaning toward this being a mech-based game because I've been watching a lot of the Gundam series, the old Gundam from the '79 and onward. The that has me kind of inspired lately. So leaning toward using big mechs like Japanese cartoons do, giant robots or something similar, as a major form of dealing with combat. So I think we're probably going to be following a ship. But there is one other concept here that I wanted to get across quite early, that because if you saw the thumbnail for this video, you saw, and the title of the video is Abyssal Moon Session 0. So tentatively, I'm calling this campaign Abyssal Moon, derp. But it is, it's going to be based around the concept of an alien moon appearing over the Earth, one that is covered in water, or made almost entirely of water, an abyss of water that orbits the Earth all of a sudden. And that's going to be, it's caused a lot of disasters already at this point, I think. So that's going to be one of the setting's big issues, which is the next step in the book, in the FateCore game creation. So, yeah, I'm happy to report that the current the big issues are going to be current, which is the destruction of a large part of the ecosystem and the change of tides and stuff because now there's another moon, but also and then there's all the other current issues going to be some kind of war because we're going to be playing mech battles and stuff. And so I assume these aliens that have entered our solar system are going to be the main enemies. For now, let's go with that. So there's aliens or not, but actually I don't really want there to be aliens, so to speak, right off the bat here. So I think it's going to be a mystery. That'll be one of the impending issues is potential alien contact. And the current issue is the war brewing over who will control this new liquid moon, which appears to be empty, but we know there are going to be aliens on it. At least I do. I'm the game master here, so I have an idea that there's going to be aliens. Maybe there won't be. We'll see. We'll be asking the fate chart for that later on during solo play, I think. But I have a feeling we're going to have the potential of alien contact. So those are our two things we're going to start with. We're going to start with the big issues of the world are environment, or the arrival of the moon. Yeah, big issues. Arrival of the abyssal moon in Earth's orbit. And then war for control of the disrupted system, disrupted Earth and moon. Moons now, there's two of them. And so that's A and B. And then impending issues, possible alien contact, because it's a water moon. Possible alien contact on the new moon, on the Abyssal moon. Abyssal moon. Okay. So, yeah, that's where we're starting. And I think it's going to be I think that's a good place to start getting work on our player characters, or maybe let's follow the next step because I feel like maybe we didn't get far enough in. Nope, pretty much got it. We're supposed to make these into aspects, but I think so let's boil these down to the aspects. The first one, and aspects are one of the main tools we use for role playing and just play for mechanical advantage and just playing the game better in FateCore. So, uh, yeah, so basically we are going to be observing this moon in the sky, but also probably going to it with spaceships. We're talking a slightly more advanced society, so exploration of the moon, maybe. Yeah. The new partner. That's going to be our first aspect. Earth's new partner. Yeah. Earth's new partner is going to be for aspect A. That's going to be for A. And B is going to be well, we kind of need some nations to be at war here, but I think it's not gonna be our nations that exist today because I'm thinking this is sometime in the future, or we're not gonna have the technology to go into space and have conflict around this moon. But and also I want space mechs. So the but they're gonna be new. How about the mechs are a new introduction, so that can be another issue here. And so we'll call that Mecha War, Mecha New Mecha. Nah, that sounds like something from Chronicles of Riddick. No, but of course spelled differently. So, geez, I'm sorry if this is boring anybody, but this is what a game is. This is how you make a game, and I'm kind of walking through it. So, yeah. Anyway, if you're still listening, I'll be here for a while yet. So I'm thinking, and I'm gonna do a lot of out loud thinking. I'm good at that as a rule, but I'm still not used to doing it during game creation. Usually I do this part in my head or on the computer. I'm writing stuff down, but I'm not, you know, I'm not used to brainstorming out loud. So let's see. I think the next oh yeah. So this war is going to be war for for territory. Yeah, okay. For new territory. Yeah, okay. And then also advances in mecha technology. So new robots will be coming out throughout this and be constantly being tested, right? And then there's impending issues. I actually think I'll come up with another impending issue here, which is the potential of psychic awakening in humanity. Okay. That's going to give us a lot to play with. And possibly from the new moon's presence. From the new moon's presence. Okay, so that's our fourth aspect. That's probably going to be enough aspects for this campaign to start with for the setting. And that is to say that's to say we're going to say okay, so there's the psychic potential. Yeah. Or brave new potentials. Yeah, well, I'll just make that the last aspect. Because there's a lot of new stuff that could arise from this campaign's issues as they stand. And finally, I think for scale, we're focusing on one ship with a few mechs on it, like a squadron of like 3 mechs maybe. Just let's keep it simple, 3 mechs. Maybe not one for every player character. We probably have some NPCs flying them too. I think only one player character will probably be a pilot of a mech, and the other might be the captain of the ship. Because we're only going to deal with a couple of these just to keep things simpler for me to run the game. So one ship in the war is going to, and it's also kind of similar to the original Gundam series, the old ones, where you're following like one ship as they cruise around, and the very first one is just basically everywhere that ship goes during the 1 year war. And I think that was a pretty fun way to handle that show. Make it keep the scope a little bit more controlled, while allowing them to explore an awful lot. So that's gonna be, I guess. Let's name the ship. I think that's a good one to start with. Uh, well, I'm just gonna call it the Cormorant, and we'll go with that because whatever. Yeah, that's a nice word. It's a nice bird name, so let's go with it, Cormorant. And the Cormorant is on one side in this war. The Cormorant is a warship, otherwise why have mechs? So yeah. So I'm gonna make that another setting aspect because no, it doesn't need to be a setting aspect. The Cormorant is more like an asset that we'll be using throughout the story. More on that during the actual gameplay sections. So we got the basics here. I got the basics here. Probably can't read it. My chicken scratch isn't great, but there we go. Wrote a bunch down, and I think that's gotta be enough. We do need some faces and places. There's a ton of stuff to make, but I think we'll get into that using more of the Fate emulation, the Mythic emulator later on, because this is gonna be a little less directed than a lot of FateCore games tend to be when they're created by a particular for a group of players in the wild, so to speak. Because I'm pretty comfortable playing by the seat of my pants here, and that's how we're gonna be flying. On the other hand, I do think we need some characters already. We need the characters. We kind of have two characters popping out at me here: a pilot and a captain or commander of this vessel, or an officer. Maybe not the captain, but I kind of like the idea of the captain being a player character because then we have more agency over what the ship does. So, got player characters. I think I would like to vary it up a little bit. So we're gonna say one man, one woman, just arbitrarily as my player characters. So let's see. The pilot, is the pilot a man? No, the pilot is the woman. Pilot, female. And the captain is the dude. In this case, he's the man. That'd be funny if the captain was the dude, like from the Big Lebowski. But anyway, that's not where we're going with that. That's not the mean here. So, oh, also, in case you didn't notice, when I roll the dice, I'll be rolling dice. I will roll dice to determine a character's, kind of presentation, which is funny. But I have a pretty simple system for that. I didn't even mention it. Evens are female, odds are male, and if you roll a 6, something weird can go. A 6 or a 1. Is to encourage a little more variety. But a 4, that's pretty definitively female. And I do evens and odds. Evens for female because of the chromosomes and whatever. It's easy for me to remember. So that's why I do it that way. Okay. And some names coming up quick. I'm thinking I'm going to call the pilot Mona Blackwell. And the captain, let's say Tyrese Thorn. Well, we'll do it. We'll go with it. Thorn with an E, let's say at the end. So we got 2 characters to start with. And there's a lot of room to move still with this, because we still have character creation to go through. Now, I think that will be a little boring, honestly, to go through on camera, even though I haven't done anything on camera yet, really. But I'm going to try it just for reference. We're going to see how this goes. But, yeah, no, actually, I don't think so. Because of the technical difficulties on this stream, I think it might be best to wrap this up here, and I'll come back next stream with the characters fully built, and we'll get right into the gameplay, because I think that's where people are more interested in seeing. So, yeah, nice and discreet here. Thank you for listening, and you can find my books at timniederriter.com, and there's going to be another stream soon. I'm not going to schedule these except on the day, but I assume there's probably going to be more than one a week because they're pretty fast to put together now. Went to all that trouble to get YouTube prepped for streaming. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next